Are off, so let's get right to Keith Carson, who is live at Popham Beach. Rain seems to be coming down out there. Keith, what's it really like?
Yeah, it's been kind of hit or miss on the intensity of it. We're in an in-between period right now. I'd say about 20 minutes ago, it was coming down a little bit harder. We've seen a lot of this as we drove up the coast here, just kind of flooding in spots that just have trouble draining the water. And so obviously this is in the middle here out over the road as well. But what strikes you is that you're really quite exposed here at Fort Popham, and there's almost no wind at all. So we talked yesterday about how the real issue with this storm, if there was any, was going to be about the rain. And we've seen quite a bit of rain so far, but we really have almost no wind. In fact, even for a normal rainstorm, I would consider this pretty dead wind-wise along the immediate coastline. But as this storm continues to move through, we'll have to continue to respect the tropical aspect of it in the rain, how much rain it can put down. In fact, it looks like this area and along the immediate coastline will get a little bit of a lull as some of those heavier bands rotate in westward and they just end up banking up against the terrain. So we may end up with slightly higher rainfall totals in some of our foothills and mountains than we anticipated. There's still quite a bit of rain along the coastline as well, but probably in that 2 to 3 inch range. We've had flash flood warnings, obviously part of the bigger flash flood watch. I don't know that I've seen a ton of major damage, but certainly there are areas where roads look like they're flooded and some of them might be trying to get washed out if it continues to rain at a hard clip. One good thing about this storm is it is cruising. In fact, Jess and I were talking about even my location here. It is possible by the end of when we're done with the news here at 6:30 or so that we will be done with the rain and clearing out. So the forward speed of this is actually helping out a lot. When you talk about tropical storms that cause a lot of flooding, they're usually going slowly. The steering flow is cut off and they sit there for a while. That's just not going to be the case with Elsa. Nonetheless, obviously we'll continue to watch the rain over the next couple of hours. In some areas, just barely started seeing the rain. Places like Bangor are kind of on the front end of the storm. They still have a lot more left to see. So we'll check in again, guys, in about 15-20 minutes. In the meantime, of course, Jess will update you on the latest on the radar and the rest of the forecast.
All right, Keith. Thanks a lot. We're learning more today about the shooting in which a police officer shot and killed a man in Presque Isle from someone who was there.
Police say it started yesterday when Shannon Wilcox was firing a gun outside a home on Main Street right by the University of Maine's Presque Isle campus. When officers got there, the situation turned into a standoff. According to police, Wilcox was shooting into the air and threatening the officers. Aroostook County Sheriff Sergeant Matthew Cummings shot and killed Wilcox. One man who saw it all happen says it was shocking for the small community.
It's not something we see every day where we're at, you know what I mean? It's not normal behavior, but it seems like it's across the rest of the country, but not in our small community. It doesn't seem this is going to be the new norm. I don't know what it is, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just scary. I got kids 14, 15, and 16 years old, and I just hate to see that, this isn't the Aroostook County I grew up in, and what they're dealing with is just, it's horrible. It's horrible to see.
The state's attorney general's office is now gathering information to find out what led up to the shooting. That kind of investigation is standard anytime an officer uses deadly force. People in Portland are seeing some dramatic changes to their property taxes, particularly those who live on the peninsula. It's part of a process called revaluation.
The state requires every town and city to do a revaluation every 10 years. But Portland's last one was 15 years ago. Property values have gone way up since then. So here's what this all means for you and your property taxes.
If you own property in Maine, the city assessor figures out how much your property is worth. Portland is performing a revaluation. A revaluation determines property values. Property values in the city have gone up since the last revaluation 15 years ago. So your house, commercial property, or land could be assessed at a higher value. But higher property values from a revaluation do not necessarily mean higher taxes. The city of Portland says a revaluation does not generate more tax revenue for a city.
Rather, it helps ensure that property taxes are redistributed fairly.
As property values rise, the tax rate goes down to generate the same amount of money called for in the city's budget. So how do you know if you'll pay more or less in taxes next year? The city tax assessor says the overall city's taxable value should go up 77%. That means if your house increases in value 79%, you'll pay 2% more in taxes. If your house increases 75% in value, you'll pay 2% less in taxes. The city assessor says the average residential property increased about 82%, which means the average person in Portland will pay an extra 5% in taxes. Some properties will see taxes go up, some will go down, and some will stay the same.
It's a bit of a complicated process. We've got a lot more information on our website. So if you want to see how much your property is worth and the expected change to your taxes, you can click on this article on our website or mobile app, or you can go to revalueportland.me. An EMT from New Hampshire was recently responding to a cardiac arrest call when he went into cardiac arrest himself. Alan Tate of North Conway Fire Department says he was feeling just fine that day. In fact, he had just had a physical that morning and everything came back normal. But out of nowhere, he had a heart attack. Tate was taken by ambulance to a hospital in New Hampshire before being transported by helicopter to Maine Medical Center for a surgery that was ultimately successful.
In EMS and fire, we always joke that eventually we all end up in the back of an ambulance. And it's usually for maybe exertion, or you break a bone, or, something not as critical as a cardiac arrest.
Fortunately, Tate says he's feeling much better and plans to head back to work in late August. Still more to come here on News Center Maine at 4. We're less than 48 hours away from humanity's first billionaire in space. A look at Richard Branson's impending flight next.
By Monday, the so-called battle of the space billionaires, Bezos versus Branson, may be settled, as Sir Richard Branson is set to lift off on a passenger test flight to the edge of space.
It's definitely gotten a lot of buzz, largely because the two are well-known billionaires who have spent billions to build their own spaceships, but also because the Branson and Bezos test flights are designed to open the doors to regular paying passengers.
Here's NBC's Tom Costello with more.
It's the last place you'd expect to find two billionaires, Jeff Bezos in the desert of West Texas, Sir Richard Branson here. If you didn't know better, you'd think you really are in the middle of nowhere.
Well, you are in the middle of nowhere. You're in the middle of New Mexico, which is sort of the middle of nowhere.
New Mexico's brand new spaceport, America. Branson is now just 48 hours away from fulfilling a dream to fly his own spaceship and cross the Kármán line, the boundary between Earth's atmosphere and space. The Air Force and NASA put that invisible boundary at 50 miles above the Earth.
Increase in pitch. Wow, look at that view. Gorgeous.
So far, only Virgin's test pilots have crossed the line. Branson and 5 others will go weightless for 3 minutes before gliding back to Earth, making all of them officially civilian astronauts. This is your baby. I mean, you have spent 17 years, and now it's coming true.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a pinch yourself moment.
Earlier this week, Branson gave us an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour. The mothership named Eve after his mother that will carry a spaceship named Unity, climb to 40,000 feet, and release.
Fire. Fire.
Unity will then rocket to the edge of space. Also on board, 3 Virgin Galactic employees.
It's happening. It's actually happening, and I'm really just incredibly grateful.
The entire flight expected to last 2 hours max, all of it live streamed. Meanwhile, in West Texas,
and we have liftoff. Go, New Shepard, go.
Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin has also been flying test flights. No pilots, all remote controlled from the ground. Bezos is set to fly on Tuesday, July 20th. Coming along for the ride, veteran pilot and one-time female NASA astronaut candidate, Wally Funk. At 82, her first ride into space will make her the oldest person to go there. Also flying, an anonymous person who bid $28 million for the trip. Blue Origin uses a rocket. Virgin Galactic uses a space plane with wings that unfold for landing. Both plan to soon carry paying passengers. With just days to go, Branson and team have been practicing in a simulator.
Hello down there.
You're not nervous?
I'm not nervous because we've got incredible engineers. We've got the best of the bunch.
That's Tom Costello reporting. Okay, so here's the edge of space controversy, right? There's an international disagreement over where space actually begins. The U.S. and NASA put the line at about 50 miles. Much of the rest of the world says it's 62 miles.
So naturally, Bezos and his team say that if Branson doesn't make it to 62 miles, he's not really in space.
I roll.
Rich people problems, right?
Yeah, you could say that again.
All right, Jess Conley joins us after the break with your full forecast. All right, taking a look at the weather, we're continuing to track Elsa this afternoon. Jess Conley and Keith Carson have been all over it. And Jess, it's moving pretty quickly, though.
Yeah, it is, Zach. It's moving out of here extremely quickly. And as we go through the rest of tonight, and even before we get to midnight, most of us will be drying out, and then tomorrow looks like a gorgeous day, but we still have a lot of Elsa to deal with first. The next several hours we'll continue to see some heavy rain across parts of the state. We'll zoom in a little bit so you can see what's happening. We still have these flash flood warnings in effect, so anywhere in this green box from Portland all the way up to Brunswick, over to Hollis, Kennebunk, pretty much all of southern Maine included in a flash flood warning. But look at what's happening with this storm. You'll notice it is moving very, very quickly. This is a radar loop of just the past 2 hours. This thing is cruising. It's moving out of here very, very quickly. Someone in Kittery just tweeted me that things are already starting to lighten up there. So that'll be the trend as we go through the rest of tonight. You can see down in Kennebunk too, it looks like things really starting to come to an end. So haven't seen a lot of flooding. Of course, if you are seeing flooding in your area, please feel free to let us know when you can do so safely, and just be safe out there tonight. Flash flood watch is still in effect for much of the rest of the state. Anywhere in the green area, we could still see, again, the potential for flash flooding going through the next several hours. Of course, if you come across a flooded roadway, please don't drive through it. So it's now post-tropical cyclone Elsa. It was a tropical storm, but it's lost some of its warm tropical characteristics, but still has sustained winds 50 miles an hour, gusting up to around 65. But yeah, it's moving to the northeast at 31 miles an hour. That's extremely quick. It'll move out of here as we go through the rest of tonight. And like I said, tomorrow looks gorgeous. Really, the whole weekend looks pretty good, especially compared to what we're dealing with today. So by 6 o'clock, again, moving to the mid-coast and the down east coast. This is 9 o'clock tonight. The rain will start to wrap up in Bangor by around then. And then by 11 o'clock tonight, pretty much we're all starting to dry out, just a few lingering showers. Now, as we head into the day tomorrow, things looking pretty good. We'll start in the mid to upper 60s. We'll see more sunshine. And by tomorrow afternoon, it's gorgeous. We're back to summer in Maine. Temperatures in the mid to upper 70s by around lunchtime. We'll make it into the mid to upper 70s, some low 80s possible tomorrow too, but it looks great. Second half of the weekend looks lovely as well on Sunday. Temperatures actually will be able to warm up a little bit more. As far as the winds go, they haven't been a problem, and it looks like wind gusts 20 up to 30 miles an hour possible through the rest of tonight, but that's about it. Again, the weekend looks great, nice and clear tomorrow. Same thing into the day on Sunday too. Looking very nice. Even into early next week, things are looking good. We'll look at that in just a sec. Seas tomorrow, around 4 to 7 feet in the morning. By tomorrow afternoon, closer to 3 to 4 feet. Winds will just be from the northeast at around 5 to 10 knots. It'll be like Elsa was never here, except your lawns will be water. All right, tomorrow looks good again, clearing out for the day. Temperatures in the upper 70s to near 80. On Sunday, we're in the low to mid 80s. Pretty much the same thing on Monday too. As we head into the middle of next week, temperatures stay nice, upper 70s, low 80s for Tuesday and Wednesday. A couple chances for some showers in there. But check out Thursday and Friday, guys. If you want the extreme summer-like weather back, we're gonna make it into the 90s, even at the coast it looks like, by the end of the week. So again, good news is that Elsa's starting to wrap up, guys, and the weekend looks fantastic.
Great
Awesome.
news. Love to hear it. Thank you, Jess. You can stick around. We don't need Keith anymore. You bring the good news.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
Up next, we are celebrating Fashion Day with a designer whose shoes have adorned plenty of celebrity feet and who got her education right here in Maine. Today is Fashion Day, so if you're hitting the town, don't be afraid to try some fresh and fun new looks. The holiday is only 5 years old, which means it missed Maine's most prominent contribution to the fashion industry.
Bet you can't guess what that is. In 2014 at New York's Fashion Week, alongside Tom Ford, Kate Spade, Versace, and Vogue, you could also see the Bean Boot. The 2010s were a pretty good decade for LL Bean's iconic hunting boot because on top of the Fashion Week feature, it was also the rise of the hipstery flannel bearded lumberjack look, also known as lumbersexual. That resulted in LL Bean needing to ramp up production. But there's another footwear trend with a Maine connection. Ruthie Davis has designed shoes that have slipped onto the feet of a lot of A-list celebrities like Beyonce and Lady Gaga.
Davis is a graduate of Bowdoin College, and as Caroline Cornish found out back in 2015, she did not enroll with high-end fashion in mind.
When you came to Bowdoin, did you know that shoes were going to be your life?
I did not. I mean, I knew that I was obsessed with shoes. I had a lot of shoes. I was also an athlete, so I had a lot of different sport shoes. But I really didn't think someday I'll be a shoe designer.
What did you think you were going to do?
You know, it's interesting. I was the classic, you know, liberal arts person that did everything. I was into sports. I was into, you know, literature, English, art, visual arts, photography, painting. And I always just sort of followed my passions. And I thought I was going to be, initially I thought I was going to be a sports writer or somehow in marketing and sports, you know, so it's sort of the English and the sports coming together. But what's interesting is I actually found, not that long ago, these incredible watercolor paintings I did at Bowdoin, and they were of shoes. And I had no idea. It was funny, I didn't design shoes in them, no, they were like an LL Bean boot. I painted an LL Bean boot, you know, a topsider, and then I had one of a ski jacket.
So you were clearly doing Maine fashion.
Yeah, I was into, yeah, so that was interesting, but it wasn't what I thought I would be.
And so this was after graduate school that you said, I'm going to start designing shoes?
What happened is organically, following my passion, I went from, you know, I did go into the journalism, sports journalism, which led to getting an MBA in entrepreneurship and marketing, which led to my first job out of business school at Reebok. And when I was at Reebok is when I realized I really loved the fashion aspect. I loved following the trends, I loved the design. And I found that I had better ideas than a lot of the designers. So I just started steering more and more towards that aspect. Always loving the whole package though. I love, you know, the marketing, the branding, the sales, the merchandising. I like, you know, entrepreneurship.
And then why did you go for sky-high heels when you come out of a sports shoe background?
I know. That's a great question.
As soon as people look at your shoes, they go, those can't possibly be comfortable.
That's a great question.
And yet Beyonce wears them on stage.
You know, it comes back to Bowdoin. They taught us to think big. They taught us to analyze, to dream, to create something new. There were great shoes out there already that were just sensible shoes. I had to have a new idea. And my new idea was, you know, I love sports and sports fashion. And it's sort of techy and it's colorful. And I also like a dress shoe. I loved high fashion. And my idea was to bring those two worlds together. You know, I used to say, if a Manolo Blahnik and a Nike had a baby, what would it look like? You know, a Ruthie Davis.
Right there.
Yeah, so that led to just innovative, crazy, colorful, fun shoes, some of which are sky high. But that's you know, I didn't want to do what was already out there. I wanted to create something new.
Do you remember the first time you saw a celebrity wear one of your shoes?
You know what, I have had so many celebrities. It's interestingly enough, right from the get-go, my top girl was Beyonce. She was an early adopter of Ruthie Davis. She's a wonderful person and she's really big on girl power. And you know, she loved that I was a woman designing the shoes. You know, it's a weird thing, until someone pointed out to me, most luxury shoe designers, high-end shoe designers are men. You know, very few are women and very few are American women. They're mostly all European men. So she really liked that, and she was wearing my shoes in the beginning, and yes, it was like beyond belief.
Did you completely freak out when you?
Yes, like screaming, jumping, like, yeah, going crazy, absolutely. But I still do today. I mean, you know, in my office, when we see a celebrity, recently Zendaya was wearing a pair of my shoes. She's like the hot star now, Zendaya.
Right.
It girl. And she was at Paris Fashion Week. And you know, it's just, you know, you give them the shoes, you don't know if they're gonna wear them. And she wore them recently, about a week ago, and it was all over. And literally we were screaming in my office, like little kids. Like, and we actually keep mini champagnes in my office. So like, we cracked a champagne. I think it was 2 o'clock. We said, hey, we're in fashion. We can have some champagne.
At 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Another big fashion trend that I'm sure you're aware of in shoes is that the yellow bean boot appears to be back. What do you make of the fact that the yellow bean boot that you were drawing at Bowdoin College?
I know. It's a very, you know, I've been studying fashion for years now, and it's been all, I could write a book on it, the cycles, the trends, how they circle back, etc. Right now, there's definitely a trend towards authenticity. People, young people especially, you can't fool them. They want the real deal. You know, they want the original Ugg boot, they want the original LL Bean, the original Birkenstock, Haviana for a thong. You know, Jack Purcells are back. You know, Stan Smith. I used to wear the Stan Smith Adidas when I was at Bowdoin, and now it's like the hottest sneaker again. So I think it's just, you know, they're very savvy about how something's made. They want product that works, and they want the real deal. So I think that's why you're seeing that return.
And finally, you're here, you're going to be talking to college students. When you talk to young people about getting out there and getting after it, being a girl going to Bowdoin College and now finding your stuff out on the runway of New York, what do you tell people?
Number one, you have to follow your passions. You have to dream, and you have to be passionate about your ideas, because nothing else will give you the energy to do it, because it's really hard. So you've got to dig deep to find your passion. Once you find your passion, there is nothing to substitute for hard work. This idea that you can have instant fame, instant glory, you know, the internet has been a little guilty of making people, you know, the bloggers can be like famous like that. At the end of the day, if you want to staying power, it's hard work. You need to work harder than anyone you know, and be passionate, and just step by step, you know, you figure it out.
Caroline Cornish with that back in 2015. Now, since then, Ruthie Davis, sorry. It's Friday. Has worked with Disney, releasing a line of shoes inspired by the live-action adaptation of Mulan last year. So how's your shoe collection going?
Honestly,
like that?
I mean, no, I don't have anything as fancy as that. But I don't know. My wife kind of, you know, gives me flack for saying, like, oh, you have so many pairs of shoes. And we have cabinets full of her shoes that she doesn't wear.
Yeah.
And it's different pandemic, not leaving the house, so on and so forth. I get that. But also, like, I've got, you know, the same handful of shoes that I wear every single day.
Yeah,
What about you?
But you have plenty of options to choose from, like tucked away. Yeah.
Yeah, enough, just in case. I'm digging my own. Like,
yeah, you are.
grave
I'm not
here,
going to get
aren't I?
in the middle of that argument. So good try.
All right, we'll be right back with your rundown.
look at the stories in your rundown. Post-tropical storm Elsa has reached the final leg of its trip up the East Coast, and boy, has it brought some rain here to Maine.
News Center Maine's Keith Carson joins us live from Popham Beach. Hey, Keith. How you doing out there? You staying dry?
Hey, guys. Yeah, well, we're doing the best we can. I'd say the rain rate has stayed relatively consistent, even though there's a little slight brightening in the sky cover, which matches up with the radar, which is showing us that this thing is hauling out of here, to the point where I think that in the next hour or so, we might be largely done with the heavy rain here, at least and we're at Popham Beach. There's obviously been enough to cause, what I'd call kind of poor drainage, flooding, and so far it seems like that's what we've been dealing with, is the areas that typically might flood if it rains really hard are flooding. So I put that in a different category than obviously more widespread flooding. And I think the forward speed of the storm has really made a big difference when it comes to that. When most of these tropical systems that cause a lot of problems, and you've got 5-6 inches or more of rain, that's done because the steering flow is slow and the storm gets kind of stalled out. We don't have that problem with Elsa. It's a quick moving storm. That's number one. Number two is we've had people come down here to come check out the ocean and the waves, and I've been telling them there are none. I mean, certainly well offshore, there are swells, and this is a little bit more sheltered of an area, but there's really almost no wind at all. You're talking about 5, maybe 10 miles an hour. And there's really not much in the way of surf that's hitting it directly to the ground here. Again, as you go farther offshore, there is. But if you told someone this is a post-tropical, they'd say, well, it seems like a lot of rain, but otherwise there doesn't seem like anything crazy is going on. This rain will continue to wrap up the coastline over the next couple of hours, but at this speed, there will probably be some clearing, especially when you look down across southern Maine. Not only will they be done with the rain, there is a possibility they could see a nice sunset in spots over southern Maine. Keep that in mind, Coco, that it'll be nice later. Maybe you can take Ashley out to dinner to make up for throwing her under the bus about the shoe situation. So that might be something worth doing.
Yeah, you may have to take our news director out to dinner for wearing the wrong rain jacket on television. So good luck with that one. Thanks, Keith. The Maine Warden Service, Freeport Police, and Lincoln County Sheriff's Office are looking for a woman from the town of Freeport.
Yeah, 55-year-old Wendy Lewis was reported missing on Wednesday. She's 5'3" with brown hair and brown eyes. Yesterday afternoon, someone reported her vehicle in the driveway of a seasonal home on Salt Pond Road in Bristol. Authorities are searching in the neighborhood of New Harbor. The Warden Service is checking the woods, and the Marine Patrol and Coast Guard are searching the waters and shoreline there. The Sheriff's Office is also talking to witnesses, and anyone who may have seen her is asked to reach out to them. President Joe Biden has defended his decision to withdraw military forces from Afghanistan, saying that U.S. operations will end next month.
It comes as the Taliban militant group continues to seize territory around the country. NBC's Richard Engel reports from Kabul.
The Taliban are making more advances to take over Afghanistan as U.S. troops leave. The Taliban now control or are fighting to control the majority of Afghanistan. They have formed a ring around Kabul. President Biden forcefully defended his decision to pull out all U.S. troops by the end of August.
It's up to the people of Afghanistan to decide on what government they want.
But Afghan army and police units are collapsing, surrendering to the Taliban with their weapons. Many Afghans consider their government corrupt and ineffective and appear unwilling to fight for it. President Biden also promised to evacuate thousands of translators who worked with American forces. The Taliban considers them traitors.
There is a home for you in the United States, if you so choose, and we will stand with you just as you stood with us.
In the back room of a cafe in Kabul, I met Tom. That's what U.S. troops called him. He did more than 150 combat operations and lived with American forces in close quarters.
Did you hear President Biden's promise? He said the people like you have a home in the U.S. They can come and live in the U.S. The door is open.
I got a lot of news, a lot of announcements, but there's no action.
Tom put in his visa application 4 years ago.
You helped the U.S., now the U.S. needs to help you.
Yep.
Simple as that.
Yeah. Right now we need help So U.S. Army, the U.S. government have to help us.
Seems reasonable. Tom says that he has communicated to the U.S. Embassy, asked why it is taking so long. He was told that it is simply administrative delays. Tom says he fears for his life now and can't wait much longer. Richard Engel, NBC News, Kabul.
Yeah. Up next, box lacrosse is one of Maine's newer professional sports. We'll give you a glimpse of what it's all about after the break.
All right, this next story is right up Chris's alley. One of Maine's newer sports phenomena is getting a new home.
It's called box lacrosse, and it started about 2 years ago. The Maine Northmen were playing in Biddeford, but now they're coming to Portland's Cross Insurance Arena, obviously a bigger venue. Here's a look at what the sport is like.
The fastest game on 2 feet is trading in turf for concrete, cleats for sneakers.
Check!
There's legitimately 2 versions of this game. They have no idea that we play in a hockey rink.
But there's no ice, no skates.
They have no idea that we have small goals and big goalies.
But gloves, helmets, and big hits?
Fight that!
Check.
Hey, are you a hockey fan? Are you a football fan? Are you a basketball fan? Do you like fast-paced play? You will love box lacrosse.
Box lacrosse is nothing new. It's Canada's national summer sport. Now it's in our state for the first time. Leading the way are the Maine Northmen. Kyle Baker is a righty forward. He's also the team's owner and general manager.
It's been a dream of mine to bring box lacrosse to my local community for years.
So the Kennebunk native hand-picked and recruited the players. 20 of the 38 are originally from Maine. Some have never played box lacrosse before. Others, like Mark White, have played at the highest level.
Short story is my parents couldn't afford to put me in hockey, so when I was 3 years old, my parents didn't know what to do with me, so they put me in box lacrosse, and fast forward to today, I think it was worth it.
White hails from Ontario and suited up for the Toronto Rock in the National Lacrosse League in 2014.
I get chills, it's loud, for that split second you kind of take it all in, and then once that first whistle goes, it's game time and you kind of zone all that stuff out. But I think we're getting to the point now where we're ready to play somebody else.
It's also a chance to expose Maine's young players to a style of the game that these guys say made them play even better.
When they have that box skill set, foundation, they're already a high-level field player.
That's because the goals are smaller, the goalie's pads are bigger, and the pace of play is faster.
And my biggest passion is growing the game of lacrosse in both versions, but specifically now, this opportunity bringing the better, my favorite version to Southern Maine, because once you see it, you'll be hooked.
So what's really cool about these guys, their very first year in the IBLA, the Interstate Box Lacrosse Association, they won nationals.
Wow.
The national championship. In their first year as a program, they won. Made it to the nationals in 2020, did not win, so I have a feeling they're looking for revenge again in 2021. They make their Cross Insurance Arena debut tomorrow. The box office opens at 1 o'clock. Warm-ups start at 4. Game time is at 5 o'clock.
Good stuff. All right, we're still tracking Elsa this afternoon. Jess Conley's in next with your forecast.
Jess Conley's here now with a look at the weather. Jess, I mean, this is moving right along. Elsa is, so we're probably in pretty good shape by the time nighttime rolls around, and then the weekend's looking good, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's moving very quickly. At last update at 2 p.m., that was the last update from the National Hurricane Center. It was moving at 31 miles an hour. It's lost some of its tropical features, but obviously still giving us quite a bit of rain. Next official update comes at 5 o'clock, so we'll have that shortly in the next 15 minutes or so. It is really wrapping up already in southern Maine. We'll zoom in a little bit. There still is a flash flood warning for the areas here shaded in green. That includes the greater Portland area over to Brunswick and Bath. But look at southern Maine. Really starting to wrap up already in York County, New Hampshire drying out now as well. We did expect this to move out of this state by around 9-10 o'clock tonight, and that still looks very likely that even eastern Maine will start to dry out by that point too. Still a flash flood watch in effect for much of the state. All of the areas here shaded in green, including the down east coast and the mid coast and the greater Bangor area, so just keep that in mind. Again, winds still sustained in the center of this thing at around 50 miles an hour, gusting up to 65. The next update comes at 5 p.m. And of course, we'll have that for you in just a bit. But it is moving very, very quickly, and it will continue to do so as we go through the rest of the night. Tonight, things rapidly clear out tonight and through the day tomorrow. Wind gusts, not a big deal with this. They haven't been. We didn't think they were going to be good news, of course, because we didn't want to have to deal with power outages. Gusting at the coast as high as 20 to 30 miles an hour tonight, but we've seen windstorms that are way worse than this. It's really just the rainfall. We've seen rainfall reports now starting to come in. The one from Kittery that I just saw, 3.5 inches of rain. We were thinking between 2 to 3-ish, and yeah, some locations locally will see over 3 inches of rain. That one in Kittery showing that at this time. All right, so let's go through the hour-by-hour forecast tonight, 8, 9 o'clock. You can see eastern Maine, still some heavy downpours, but southern Maine starting to really clear out and dry out. And then as we go through the overnight hours, this is 11 o'clock tonight. Couple showers lingering, but that's really it. And tomorrow looks gorgeous. Really, the whole weekend looks good, especially compared to today and what we've been dealing with for much of this week. 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, mid to upper 60s. We'll see some sunshine. Looks like a pretty nice day overall. By tomorrow afternoon, temperatures make it into the mid to upper 70s. We'll get close to 80. Most of us make it into the low 80s for the second half of the weekend. On Sunday, it's looking nice. We'll start with plenty of sunshine, and we'll see mostly sunny skies during the day on Sunday. Things looking pretty good. Marine forecast for tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, the seas will still be at 4 to 7 feet, but by tomorrow afternoon, closer to 3 to 4. Winds from the northeast at around 5 to 10 knots. Tomorrow in the ocean, temperature at 62 degrees now. Check out the weekend though. Low 80s away from the coast, low to mid 80s. We'll see a mix of sun and clouds both days. As we head into early next week, things are looking nice too. Partly sunny on Monday. Temperatures make it into the low 80s for us. Tuesday and Wednesday, kind of getting into that typical summertime pattern with high temperatures in the upper 70s and low 80s. And then we're going to crank up the heat Thursday and Friday. We're going to make it all the way into the low 90s, guys. We'll see sunshine both days, but it is going to be very warm. It's looking like right now. So transitioning back into that kind of extreme summer weather by the end of this week.
All right, I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
The historic ship Neo Santa Maria is still in Bucksport's harbor today, but the tours that were scheduled aboard the vessel were canceled because of the storm.
The replica of one of the most famous ships in the world, one which Christopher Columbus used in his first voyage to America, arrived in Bucksport on Thursday. We were able to take a look around the ship today. We met one of the 3 American crew members on board. Ian Sayers is from Colorado, and he says he just started on the crew, but has been learning a lot about the seagoing museum. He says crew members do everything from working in the kitchen, learning the sailing maneuvers, to just talk to people about the ship when it's in port.
It's a cultural exchange as much as it is like a professional one, because you're learning so much from people who have been doing it for more than 2 years and came over on the ship from when it came over from Spain. So it's fun and exciting to learn what you can do on the ship and also see where you can go with it.
Sayers says the ship will be back open for tours tomorrow from 10 to 7 at the Bucksport Public Dock. We've still got plenty of news ahead on News Center Maine. Starting at 5 o'clock, we'll look at the tech startup world and why an increasing number of companies are saying that Maine is the right spot for them.
At 5:30, the pandemic has changed the way we work, and now companies are responding to try and keep the workforce happy. We'll look at measures they're taking. And at 6, after missing a year due to the pandemic, the North Atlantic Blues Festival is planning for an epic return to the stage. Dante Kerrigan will preview what is bound to be an unforgettable weekend.
That's all ahead. We'll wrap up News Center Maine at 4 after this. At Chase Stream Farm in Waldo County, you'll find some pretty expected products coming out of the fields, chickens and vegetables and such.
Yeah, what is unexpected, though, is that the farm is also raising a new crop of farmers, all of whom come from a background that has little to do with agriculture. 207's Peggy Kaiser and photojournalist Kirk Grady travel to Monroe to learn about the Boots to Bushels program.
6 years ago, Tim and Ann Devon stepped away from the Marines and onto this 72-acre farm in Monroe, knowing almost nothing about farming. And that did not deter them one bit.
A lot of the characteristics and things that we've been trained on in the military, like resilience, teamwork, creativity, taking the initiative, those are all types of things that really come into play when you're farming. The perseverance is a huge one because you don't always see the fruits of your labor, so to speak, and things fail and the water doesn't work, there's a drought or there's heavy winds and they blow down one of your high tunnels.
Learning to farm comes with plenty of challenges. Ann works part-time with Maine Agribility, a collaborative project dedicated to helping farmers, fishermen, and forest workers work safely and more productively.
Started working with veterans, and as I started having more and more clients, it really became apparent that a lot of the struggles were traumatic brain injury related and PTSD and depression related, which made it really hard to do any planning. Like if you wanted to be a farmer, you have to be able to plan your crops and your finances.
As their veteran outreach coordinator, she first launched a program called Educate to Cultivate, teaching the basics of the business side of farming. It was so well received that the program grew to this, Boots to Bushels, a comprehensive, hands-on, 9-month program teaching veterans how to farm.
I think for a lot of military folks, and if you talk to some of the other participants, it's very common for us, because we're older as we come into this farming industry, we think we're smarter, we're like, oh, we can figure it out. And so many veterans will jump into doing 5 to 10 different enterprises on their farm, and we were no exception. We had broilers for chickens, we did pigs, we had sheep, we have bees, we did maple syrup, we did the vegetables, we did the fruit, and we burned, ourselves out. And so now it's just trying to figure out where that sweet spot is.
And helping others find their sweet spot. Boots to Bushels puts veterans who want to farm right in the field, learning about planting, soil conditions, and equipment. They start midwinter, and by May, they are in the fields once a month, tackling a specific topic.
I think this is our 5th year, 6th growing season. It didn't look like this when we got here 5 years ago, that's for sure. I think one of the things that we thought might be interesting or of value would be to take a look at how we irrigate.
Today's topic, getting water to crops.
Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, right?
Overwhelming unless someone who has done it
Just leave it like that.
shows you how to set up valves,
One for the wing.
figure out water pressure and flow,
That's it.
lay drip lines, and attach end caps. Janae Gregory bought a 25-acre farm with her wife and is farming now. She took this course last year and is back to learn more. Her military experience left her with PTSD and a traumatic brain injury.
Some of the things with farming are totally overwhelming once you get into them. It's like a snake's nest. So being able to get a farm up and running on your own during a pandemic was like so difficult. I don't know if I would have given up, but I wouldn't have gone up to the scale I have. And just learning this today, it's simple, right? Now I feel confident to go home and actually put in my drip irrigation. So I'm happy, so happy about that.
Marcel Montaigne is a Navy vet. His wife retired from the Air Force. They bought a farm in Parham, about a half-hour northwest of Caribou. Part of what he's taken away from this class is learning what not to do.
I think it's important to start off small. Obviously, it's going to take a lot of time.
Farmers really want to get plants in the ground, and this morning wraps up using this, a Hatfield transplanter. In minutes, they've got rows of peppers planted and irrigated, thanks to the drip line. Ann and Tim hopes Boots to Bushels will give these veteran farmers the tools to translate military experience into farming success.
It's the plan of attack. You still have to, plan your attack on how you're going to grow everything and get things done. Because at first you're like, I'm going to do maple, I'm going to do bees, I'm going to do everything. Oh my goodness, you know? And then reality slaps you in the face and you're still trying to figure out how to dig the ground up, you know? Tim and Ann have been incredible in helping.
We, by no stretch of the imagination, are experts, but I know the experts now. You know, I know who to reach out to, whether it's my peers in the farming community or instructors from MOFGA, instructors from the University of Maine Cooperative Extension. Our whole lives have been about service, and now it's about serving our community. There's no better community for me, you know, right now than the veterans.
What a cool program. Peggy Kaiser with that. At the moment, Boots to Bushels is funded by grants.
Ann is hoping to see programs like this take root across the country. We'll include more information about Boots to Bushels on our website and mobile app. That's going to do it for News Center Maine at 4.
News Center Maine at 5 starts right now.
Coming up on News Center Maine.
It's not something we see every day where we're at, you know what I mean? It's not normal behavior.
Authorities identify the man shot by a sheriff's deputy yesterday in Presque Isle.
I have to say, Maine is one of the most collaborative places I've been.
Maine can be a pretty sweet place to start a new business when you have the support of operations such as the Maine Center for Entrepreneurs. Also ahead.
That's a great feeling. I mean, after canceling last year,